And let this morning be a lesson to some of you who, when I ask you to do something, you say, well, I might make a mistake. I'm glad I never make a mistake. This morning's Parsha is, well, let's begin with the blessing before we do anything. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who sanctifies us with his commandments and commands us to engross ourselves in words of Torah. Today, the 23rd reading from the Torah, and actually our last reading from the book of Exodus, is called Pekudei, and it means accounts. The first words of the first verse of the reading could be literally translated to read, these are the accounts, the Pekudei, of the tabernacle. The last reading from Exodus begins with an audit of how the contributions for the tabernacle are used. The portion goes on to describe the completion of the tabernacle and its assembly, and concludes by depicting the glory of the Lord entering it. In most years, synagogues read the Pekudei together with the previous portion, but this is leap year, so we separated them out. And as the children of Israel completed the building of the tabernacle, Moses ordered an accounting of all of the donations. Now, he didn't do this because he suspected some kind of misappropriation or something. And, he also didn't do it because someone had accused him of misappropriation. Now, he already knew that all the contributions had been handled with the utmost integrity, but he also knew that his reputation in handling money reflected directly on God. He had made it, he had to make the audit to publicly demonstrate that everything that he had been given and everything that he had done was completely honest in his life. Moses was able to declare later on, he says, I have not taken one single donkey from them. Now, handling the money of a church or messianic congregation is very important business, okay? I personally, I don't accept any money from anyone because some of you have, come up to me and said, here's my tithe or something. I said, put it in a box. I don't want to see it. I don't want to look at it. I don't want to stick it in my pocket because 6 months later I'll find it, okay? And then, boy, do I have to listen to that. All right. But I turn it all over to my wife and our accountant, bookkeeper. We have a bookkeeper that we pay to do the books, okay? And she does an excellent job of it. And they handle all of that stuff. I don't look at who gives and who doesn't, okay? I know that transparency is very important in the counting of a church or a synagogue. And I've seen my wife just obsessing over just trying to find just a few pennies because it has to balance every month to the penny, and if it doesn't, then she is just crazy lady. Oh man, she goes into this and just spend. Sometimes 2 o'clock in the morning she'll finally get to bed and she'll say, punch me and say, I got it. Found it. So she's always making sure that everything is accounted for to the penny. Every time I buy a book or a commentary or something that I use for preparing sermons or for my classes, she reminds me, I have to have that receipt right now. And before you do anything else, or you'll forget. And so I dutifully make up. I'm getting better now so that when I order something, I print out the receipt right then, and then give it to her, and then it's on her, okay? So when she loses it, I'll have to go back and find the electronic copy, but that's okay. I have to have that receipt. It's extremely important for me to have all that accounting be done perfectly, in good order, and without any defect, okay? Disciples of Yeshua must be comprehensively scrupulous also. People of integrity for whom penny larceny is still larceny, okay? Integrity is not only measured by how we conduct ourselves in the big things, little concessions are still concessions to dishonesty. For example, conveniently forgetting to report a portion of income to the IRS is still tax fraud. Oh, did I hurt somebody's feelings there? Even if it's only a few $100s. And I tell you, do not cheat on your taxes. It'll come back and bite you big time. We've been audited 3 separate times, I believe, and when they do that audit, it's like 2 or 3 years in a row that they'll do it. But they don't do it for last year. They go back 7 years before, you try to find that stuff. So we have boxes and files of all of that kind of stuff because they said, you don't make enough money to give that much charity. And so then when you have to prove it each time, and so don't cheat on the taxes as much as you'd like to, and just don't do it. It's not worth it. And I have to admit, though, in doing my taxes, I always do my own taxes, and sometimes I don't have a clue what it is they're asking for. And when I call IRS, the agent will tell me one thing, and then I got confused again, and I'll call back, and I'll get another agent, and they'll tell me another thing. And so just do the best you can. It's just not always helpful to call them. Now, illegally duplicating copyrighted material or other media might save you money, but you know what it is? It's theft. It's actually theft. In the past, I've had disputes with a fellow in a congregation many years ago who wanted me to give him CDs or tapes. These were. You remember those things called cassette tapes? Okay. We had a singing group, and we had ordered these cassette tape soundtracks that we sang off of the soundtracks, and he wanted me to let him have them so that he could copy all of them. Well, we had paid for those, just gone out and purchased these things. They're not cheap, and he wanted me to give them to him so that he could copy them and get them for free. And I told him, no, he can't do that because you're cheating the person who put all of that stuff together. And he was not very understanding, okay? Let's just say it that way. That's a nice way of saying it. And, a person's integrity, that can be challenged even when you're given the wrong change. Have you ever been given too much change back and you say, hey, too bad about you, you should learn to count. Well, I can't do that. I just can't do that. I have to go back and give them the right change. A man or woman of integrity is just as concerned about the small things as he is about the big. A man without integrity has no witness to offer the world and no message to proclaim. If we're dishonest, everyone sees it eventually. And I used to tell my kids all the time, I said, look, be careful about your reputation. Be careful about your integrity. Because once you've lost your integrity, where do you go to find it again? You don't. It's a hard slog to be considered a person of integrity once they've known you to be a cheat. That's just hard facts. I'm sorry, this is not a real rah-rah sermon today, but it's something I think we need to think about. So this brings us to our Brit Hadashah, our New Testament portion today. Now, this is probably one of the most difficult, one of those scratch-your-head kind of things that make you want to go, passages in all of the New Testament. This parable has several names. It's sometimes called the parable of the unscrupulous steward or the dishonest steward or whatever. There's other names. Yeshua gives us a very interesting parable about the relationship between the rich master and his steward. Apparently, the steward is not properly handling his master's goods. So the rich master is threatened to take away all that this steward has and everything that he's over. reduce him from the management and being CEO to being in the mailroom. All right? So the steward then cooks up this scheme. And he's going to go out to the people that owe money to the master. We read about it this morning. And let me read it through again. And he says, so he called each one of his master's debtors, and he said to the first, how much do you owe my master? And he said, 100 units of olive oil. The manager said to him, take your bills, sit down quickly, and write 50. Then he said to another, how much do you owe? He said, 100 units of wheat. The manager says, take your bill and write 80. Then this is the strange part. The rich master then commends the steward for what he has just done, because he says he acted shrewdly. It says, now the master praised the crooked manager because he acted shrewdly. Apparently, the rich master and the unjust steward were in agreement in the way they were conducting business. He thought, gee, I wish I had thought of that. That's kind of what this rich guy is thinking. That's pretty good. This statement would line up with the business world as we know it today. And I don't know how many of you have ever, if you've been in a situation where you own your own company and have to deal with people, or sometimes when you're not owning your own company and you have to deal with the world, sometimes you just come out on the short end of the stick. Good businessmen are known for their shrewdness and being able to make money in good business deals. Many businessmen in corporate America are known for their ruthlessness, though, in making money, even if it means hurting or running over others in the process. Think big pharma, tech companies, social media, government. Yeshua then makes the comment that the sons of the world are more shrewd than the sons of light. What he's saying there is, these guys, they know how to make money and do all of these things. And says sometimes the people who are believers, the sons of light, we don't take that course. We're not going to do those kind of things. We're not going to cheat like that. But you got to be smart. You got to research what you're doing. When I was in business, had my own company, whenever I would bid on something or try to do a job, I would have to take into account the costs involved in that job, because I didn't want to work for nothing, and I certainly didn't want to lose money in a job. And so it takes research. You have to do your due diligence. And so it says the sons of this age are smarter when dealing with their own generation than the sons of light. Believers are bound by a higher principle based on their relationship with Yeshua and should be acting on a higher moral plane than many of their non-believing business partners. Good Bible-believing businessman can still make a nice profit, okay? You can still be, a believer, and you can make a good profit in your business and not run over people or unjustly hurt people or, you can still make money but not being dishonest, okay? I say to you, make friends for yourselves from the wealth of the world, so when it runs out, they will welcome you into the eternal shelters. Now, have any of you ever looked at this and just said, what in the world is he talking about? Is Yeshua telling people, let's go out there, make money, bribe these people, so just like the dishonest steward did, so that, cheat, do all of those kind of things, so that, you can get ahead? It sure looks like it, doesn't it? When you look at it like that, it kind of does. But I think Yeshua explained his parable this way. The disciples should spend their money purposefully to make friends and perhaps converts. Use your money wisely, who would then later welcome them into the kingdom of heaven when the disciples died. Where it says, for yourselves from the wealth of this world, so when it runs out, the wealth of the world, when it runs out. That was a saying that when your money runs out, basically, when you die, money is of no use to you. All right? I have never seen a Brinks truck in a funeral procession. Have you? I've never seen it, you know. But if you use the wealth of this world you have accumulated for the purpose of helping people and winning them to Yeshua, you've stored up that you've already sent that ahead of you. And so that's what he's saying. Now, this view assumes that some of these friends that you're making, made by the disciples when they said, "Take this, use this money." That it kind of assumes then that the disciples, these friends of the disciples, would predecease them. They would die before the disciples would, and they would already been in heaven. And so when the disciples come to heaven, they said, they would welcome them in and say, "Remember when you helped me and you brought me to the Lord, and here, welcome Peter, James, John," whoever the disciple was. God gives all of us a chance to be good stewards. We're stewards over every blessing that God has given us. Parents are stewards over their children. Blessings from the Lord, such as your house, your car, your job, your money, and the rest of your earthly possessions, are all that you are. You're stewards over those things. That, when it comes right down to it, can you really own it? If you're in the state of Texas and you got your house paid off, do you really own it? No. Let me clue you in on that. You do not. Because if you don't pay your taxes, sheriff's going to come over there and take your house away from you. You do not own it. Till we can get a governor in there that's got enough backbone to change that. But doesn't look like we're going to do it this time. But whatever. How'd I get on that? Verse 10. One who is faithful in the smallest matters is also faithful in much, and the one unjust in the smallest matters will likewise be unjust in much. So then, if you cannot be trusted with unjust wealth, who will trust you with true wealth? Now, if you have not been trustworthy with what belongs to another, who will give you anything of your own? That makes sense. In the Tree of Life version, verse 9 uses the words wealth of the world. We've seen that wealth of the world, or in verse 11 we just read unjust wealth. You've probably heard this translation as the unrighteous mammon. In other versions, mammon being riches. All of this, all of us have worked in the world. I think everybody here has had a job. If you're old enough, you've had a job. I started working out, when I was about 14 years old, out in the fields, and then just, went and kept on working. All my life I've worked. I cannot sit on the back porch for very long. Can't do it. So we've all worked in the workplace, and we've all earned money. Now, is the money that we earned holy, or is it righteous? You ever thought about that? Is the money that you own, is it good or is it bad? Somebody said, yeah, is it good or is it bad? Right. Okay. Money is neither good nor bad. It's just, it is a means that you have. It's commerce. It can be good, it can be bad. It's what you do with it. It's just money. You can turn that money into a blessing for someone, or you can turn that money in just an accumulation of wealth for yourself and not blessing anyone. Some of the most tight people in the whole wide world are rich people. Some of the most generous people in the world are the homeless. I've seen that where you give somebody, a homeless guy, something, and he goes and shares it with his other homeless people. I've seen that time and time again. God watches how well we manage our goods, just like the rich master did with the unjust steward. And just as the rich master threatened to take away the goods from his steward, God is not obligated to continue to bless someone of poor stewardship. We are not entitled to our best life now. No more comments on that. He expects us to appreciate our blessings and take very good care of all of them. Keep your house and your possessions in good and clean order. When God gives you something, take care of it. Don't squander it. Just don't leave it out in the yard so that the rain rains on it, unless they're flowers. When we fail to represent God with our best at our current job, then we may forfeit future blessings because we're not good stewards of the blessing that He's already given us. Let's revisit what Yeshua says about stewardship in general. He says, "He who is faithful in what is least is faithful also in much, and he who is unjust in what is least is unjust also in much." Sometimes we're stuck right where we are until we are obedient with the last directive or the expectations that Adonai gives to us. Okay? The spiritual principle not only works and applies in God's realm, it also works in the natural business realm, as we pointed out in the parable that we've read through. Not only will God keep you from being promoted to the next level due to bad stewardship, He's under no obligation to promote you if you're a rotten employee, but so will the world in general. Okay. Now, our westernized culture is frequently tangled in a fantasy of entitlement. Does that make, everybody's kind of shaking your head. If you're part of this deal here, people, especially the government, if they can give you money, they can keep you voting their way. It's an entitlement mentality, okay? So they don't do anything for your good. It's all for their good, all right? Just keep that in mind, and you'll be a happier person. These entitlement people think that the world owes them a living while they're wasting their lives in poverty, thinking it's the rest of the world that's at fault, not them. How many people do we know that deliberately sat at home collecting COVID checks for over 2 years instead of pursuing employment and being the light of Yeshua in the workplace? Now, I can say that because I know people in this congregation that they did not want to take those things, and they were out beating the bushes trying to find a job during this time. And we prayed for them, and some folks, they got good jobs. I think I am very happy now that David got a job, Jeff got a job. I know others that Elizabeth did. We pray for people that get jobs around here, and guess what? God honors those prayers. We do not have a congregation, I thank God for it. We do not have a congregation of takers. We have a congregation of givers, and I thank God for you for that. And with that, I lost my place. Bottom line is for all Messianic believers, if you want promotions from the Lord to higher levels of service and bigger and better blessings, then do the best and be the best you can be at the job you're currently working for the Lord. There have been several instances in my career in the military and also in the oil industry, working for people and also having my own company and so forth, that I ran across, and these are self-professing Christians or believers. Now, they themselves call themselves that they did not work out. They didn't perform well at all. In fact, they were rotten. They didn't measure up to the high standard of the calling of being a follower of Messiah. I'm not even talking about their work level. If they're not doing the very, very best that they possibly can do, and not everybody has the same abilities, I could get hired on by an NBA team, but I could not perform if I tried my very best, I could not perform like those guys. But you go out there and you do the very best you can. But these people I knew, their work product was shoddy or they were lazy. You've heard, maybe you heard this expression that these people were too heavenly minded to be any earthly good. Maybe you've heard that before, maybe you haven't. Don't be that guy, okay? He brings reproach on the name of Yeshua. Yeshua finished his parable this way. No servant can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will stick by one and look down on the other. You cannot serve God and money. Now, far too often, we try to straddle the fence with one foot in the world and one foot, in the Word. When we do that, I can tell you, all you get is a pants full of splinters. Yeshua warned about how hard it is for a rich man to enter heaven. I'm just going to leave that up there for just a second. Did you see that? It makes me laugh. I don't know about you, but I used to have a horse one time. They would run right up to the fence, and when he'd get right to the fence, put on the brakes, and guess where I ended up? On the other side of the fence. So I know about fences. It is possible that you may have to make difficult decisions regarding your work in the secular world and your work in the spiritual world. There may be serious differences in compensation. Most ministers and rabbis I know, the guys I know, are not wealthy men. They're totally committed to their ministry. One of my good friends is a pastor in Orlando, and we've known them for almost 50 years. That was a while ago. And he's been at that church in Orlando for 30 years, he and his wife. And the congregation is about 125 people. That's it. And so I asked him about that. I said, 125, is that large enough to sustain you and so forth? And their response was, God takes care of us, and besides, I cannot personally minister to many more people. 125 to 150 gives me the opportunity to be their pastor in a close, personal way that a large church, he said, I couldn't do it. His heart was in the right spot. Man, that hit me kind of hard, actually, because, I'm kind of a numbers guy. I'll tell that, and that's sometimes, we're always just you think about the numbers as a measure of success. I'm looking at measurable successes. And what is that? Numbers in the congregation sometimes. But he said, no, that's not it. This guy had a true pastor's heart. He gets it. Admittedly, other men of God have a different calling, and they do lead huge organizations, and they, good on them, they're called to do that. I think of Robert Morris up in Dallas, who, he's got, 5 or 6 campuses. I don't know if the campus says is the right campi. I don't know about that stuff. He's got a bunch of churches out there, okay? But he is truly a man of God. And are they any less godly because they've got thousands and thousands of people in their congregation than my friend who has 125? No. Are they any less successful than the guy, the pastor with 125? No, they're no. I mean, the guy with 125 is less successful. He's not any less successful. Yeah. Robert Morris said that when they started many, many years ago, they took 10% of their income and they started blessing Israel with it. And they are so much into blessing Israel. God bless them, You want to, Greg Stone is he leads their Jewish ministries. We've been up there. We know the guys. And So if you want God's blessing in your life, bless Israel. Okay? That is a good formula, you know. You want to be blessed, then you bless Israel. We all have a different calling, and each, we should be true to that calling. We have to be maxed out for the calling of the Lord. It hit me last week. Somebody called me up and asked if I would come out of retirement. And I thought, well, I could maybe do that, just on a consulting basis. I could consult a little bit. And, they said, we need somebody with your experience because you have this and that and the other. And I said, let me see. So I went back, told Pat, and actually I told the guy flat no on the phone, but I went back and he kept bugging, this thought, I could make enough money that, boy, we could get into our own building, in short order. So I got on my phone. I started texting a friend of mine to see if he could come in and fill in for me when I had to be away. And as I was filling in, hitting the numbers for this friend, I got a very resounding, no. I thought, well, maybe just a week or two. No. So, we have those kind of decisions coming up, and I don't regret that. And I'm not telling you that to say, ooh, what a great guy I am. No, because, oh man, that tortured me for a whole day up there. It did. And each of us today find ourselves in a different level of the socio-economic scale. Okay, that's a nice word, socio-economic. And, that's perfectly acceptable. Some people are up here, some people are down here. Sometimes it changes, and it's okay. The blue-collar worker, the nurse, the engineer, the stay-at-home mom, the CEO of a large company are all the same in God's eyes if they have committed their lives to the Lord. Be faithful to the calling that you have received from the Lord. Pursue it with all that is within you. You will never be successful being a part-time believer. There is no such thing as a part-time believer. Either you are or you're not. What did Yeshua said? I want you to be hot or cold. I want you to be hot so that I can use that hot water, or I want you to be cold so you can be refreshing. But don't be in the middle. That's yucky. He spit you out. Being a child of God is a full-time occupation, all the while performing in excellence at whatever secular occupation you have and whatever spiritual calling we find ourselves in. You can do. Pat and I worked in ministry all our lives, as part-time ministry and full-time work, until God said, "Okay, you've done enough of the full-time work. Now it's time to do full-time ministry." Okay, that was our calling. I knew we were where we were supposed to be all that time, and it's okay. We should always treat our work as our worship, our kavanah. Let me say that again. We should always treat our work that we're doing in the secular world as our worship to the Lord, because He's given us that job. When you're tripping in and out of the hole over there, Jeff, just think, yeah, God gave me this job. Hallelujah. Of course, you don't do that stuff. He's above that, a little bit. Jeff's got him a good job, and we're thankful for that. So I can kid him, because we talked about we were both of us in the oil field at the same time, and now he's back in it. Good on you, mate. Whatever you do, do it wholeheartedly, all your heart, all your soul, and all your strength. That is the way to truly be accountable and to truly serve the Lord. Do it with everything you got, and you won't be sorry. Could we stand? Avinu Malkeinu, our Father, our King, we thank you for all your blessings. We thank you, Lord, that you bless us when we bless others. You bless us when we bless Israel. Father, help each and every one of us to understand that our work is also our worship. And when we do our work to the fullest and the best of our abilities, it gets noticed, and people will see that, yes, this person they're different. They are a believer. That's why they're doing such good work. Father,